Story 1. The Visitor Behind the Glass. It happened in the fall of 2022, the first week of October, to be exact. I had just moved into a modest 2-bedroom home outside Madison, Wisconsin. The kind of place with orange leaves blanketing the sidewalk and a chill in the air that smelled like chimney smoke and rain. I lived alone for the first time in my life. It was freeing, until it wasn't. I worked as a high school math teacher, so I usually got home around 4:30 p.m. But that Monday, I stayed late to help a student with a project. By the time I pulled into my driveway, it was nearly 6:30, already dark. That night, I got a notification on my phone. Motion detected. Front porch camera. I smiled. I had just walked past it 2 minutes ago. Probably delayed processing, I thought. But something made me open the app. The short video clip loaded slowly. Grainy night vision. Then it played. I stood frozen in my kitchen. It wasn't me on the porch. It was a man. Standing still. Just watching the door. No knock. No movement. Just standing. The timestamp. 6:11 p.m. Almost 15 minutes before I got home. I watched again. The man wore a hoodie with the hood up. He had something in his hand. A long, thin object. Hard to tell. Could have been a flashlight. Could have been something else. I replayed the clip a third time. At the end, he turned his head slightly. Just enough to catch a glimpse of his face. He's smiling. Not the kind of smile people make when they're amused. It was wide. Stretched. Empty. Like someone pretending to mimic emotion. I locked every door and window in the house. That night, I barely slept. Every creak and gust of wind sounded like footsteps. I kept checking the app, hoping, but also dreading. Another notification. Nothing. But the next morning, when I opened the front door to leave for work, I noticed something scratched into the wooden frame, right near the handle. I see you. My stomach dropped. I reported it to the police. They came, took a report, said they'd patrol the neighborhood more frequently. But the officer didn't look too concerned. Probably a Halloween prank, he said. I wanted to believe him. So I bought more cameras. One for the backyard, one for the living room. But what I didn't know then was that he had already been inside. And the cameras, they would only show me what he wanted me to see. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I spent the morning reviewing the security footage from every camera I had. There was nothing on the backyard cam. Nothing from the night before. Nothing that explained the words, "I see you," carved into my door. But something about that man, his smile, it wouldn't leave me. I started to convince myself that maybe the cop was right. Maybe it was a Halloween prank. Just a sick joke. A one-time thing. That illusion lasted 3 days. Then one night, around 2:15 a.m., I woke to a ping. Motion detected. Living room camera. I sat up in bed, my throat dry. The house was silent, except for the hum of the fridge down the hall. I opened the app. The footage showed my living room, the couch, the TV, and the large sliding glass door that led to the backyard. And someone standing outside, just inches away from the glass. Same hoodie, same empty smile. This time, he was waving. Slowly, rhythmically. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. While the operator kept me on the line, I moved downstairs, baseball bat in hand, careful not to make a sound. The operator told me to wait, but I needed to see. I reached the kitchen and peeked around the corner. The sliding door was closed, but empty. Nobody there. I opened the app again. The live view showed nothing. The footage, time-stamped just 3 minutes earlier. I watched it again. Waving, waving. Then, at the very end, he lifted the long object he held. A key. My front door key. The police arrived 15 minutes later. They checked everything again. Nothing. No sign of forced entry. Nothing stolen. They couldn't even find footprints outside the door. When I showed them the footage, they were silent for a moment. Then one of them asked, "Have you changed your locks since moving in?" I hadn't. They advised me to do it immediately. So I did. I also installed another motion sensor in the hallway, this one with a built-in alarm. That night, I drank 2 shots of whiskey and fell asleep with the bat beside my bed. At 3:04 a.m., I was jolted awake. The hallway alarm was screaming. I jumped up and ran out of the room. Nothing. The alarm blinked red, then reset. I checked all the cameras. Nothing. Except the living room cam. This time, the video was darker than usual, like the lights were off. It showed the living room door already open, and someone, inside, crouched low, crawling along the floor, moving behind furniture, carefully avoiding the camera's direct view. The footage cut out mid-movement, and the title below it, "Deleted clip recovered." I hadn't deleted anything. I called the police again, but the video disappeared from my phone before I could show them. The officer looked at me differently this time, like maybe I was making it all up. That night, I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I packed everything: my laptop, my clothes, my dog-eared copy of The Shining, and drove to a friend's place 2 hours away. That was over a year ago. I never returned to that house. I rented it to a couple who didn't believe my story. But last week, I got a message from the new tenant. It was just a screenshot. A paused video clip. The backyard camera. Same grainy night vision. Same smile. And this time, the man was holding something up to the lens. A piece of cardboard. 4 words written in black marker. "You still see me." Story 2. The Man in the Guest Room. It was the summer of 2019, one of the hottest in recent memory in southern Arizona. I remember that because the air conditioning in our old rental house barely worked, and every night felt like sleeping in an oven. My wife, Sarah, was 6 months pregnant at the time, and I was working from home while she commuted 40 minutes each way to the hospital where she worked as a nurse. We had just moved into the house a month earlier. It wasn't in the best neighborhood, but it was affordable and had enough space for a nursery. The previous tenant had left in a hurry, according to the landlord. Red flag, maybe. But we were desperate, and it was available immediately. There was a spare bedroom in the back corner of the house, the one we planned to turn into the baby's room. For now, it was empty except for a few boxes and an old rocking chair the landlord said we could keep. The house had an old wired security system with indoor cameras in 3 rooms: the living room, the kitchen, and the hallway outside the guest room. The landlord said they were optional, and I could turn them off. But being home alone all day, I liked the idea of an extra set of eyes. One afternoon, around 2:30 p.m., I got up to grab some iced tea from the fridge. As I passed the hallway, I noticed the guest room door was slightly ajar. Odd, I always kept it shut. I closed it and went back to work. An hour later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Motion detected. Hallway camera. I opened the live feed. The door was open again. I walked out to check. This time, the door was wide open. No breeze, no windows. The chair was slightly turned, as if someone had just sat there. I told myself it must have been my imagination. That night, I locked the guest room door. 2 days later, while reviewing footage for something unrelated, I saw it. At 1:34 a.m., the hallway camera recorded the guest room door slowly opening on its own. No one in the hallway. The light in the guest room flicked on by itself. Then, a shape. Not quite a shadow. Not quite a person. Something moved inside the room, pacing, low to the ground, just out of frame. It stayed like that for 6 minutes. Then the light turned off. Door closed. Quiet. I never told Sarah, but I started locking every door in the house at night. I even jammed the guest room door with a wooden wedge. 2 nights later, I woke up around 3 a.m. to a sound I still can't fully explain. A wet, dragging sound, like something being pulled across a wood floor. Then a creak. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app. The guest room door was wide open again, and the rocking chair, moving, just barely. No wind, no draft. I turned on every light in the house and checked every room. Nothing. That morning, I changed the passcode on the security system and reset all the cameras, just in case someone else had access. But what came next made me question if the problem was physical or something else entirely. After resetting all the cameras, I started watching them obsessively. I kept the feeds open on my phone as I worked, checking them every 10 minutes like a compulsion. Days passed without incident. I started to think maybe I was just tired. Maybe the heat and stress were messing with me. Then, late one night, I got a text from Sarah. "Why are you watching me from the hallway?" I stared at my screen, confused. "I was in the living room." "I'm not," I replied. "What do you mean?" She sent me a blurry photo from her phone camera. It showed a figure, tall, motionless, standing in the dark hallway outside the bedroom door. At first glance, it looked like me. But I was holding my phone, in the living room. I bolted down the hall. Nothing. Empty. No one there. We tore the house apart looking for someone. Checked every door, every window, every closet. No sign of forced entry. I checked the hallway camera feed. There was nothing. The app had no footage from the past 2 hours, like someone had deleted it or disabled it remotely. That night, I unplugged every camera and called an electrician to hard reset the whole system. But the next night, while Sarah slept, I heard the baby's future room door click open again. I grabbed a flashlight and approached quietly. The door was already ajar. Inside, it was dark, but the air felt colder than the rest of the house, like a refrigerator left open. I scanned the room slowly. Empty. Then the flashlight landed on something new. On the wall, carved in jagged lines. "He's not Joanan." I backed out of the room and slammed the door. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the living room with every light on, watching the hallway from the couch. At 4:42 a.m., the hallway camera blinked on. I hadn't reconnected it. It should have still been offline. And then it recorded. A figure walked slowly down the hallway, but it wasn't human. Its legs were too long. Arms dangled below the knees. It moved unnaturally, like each limb was a separate puppet. It turned to the guest room door, paused, then turned toward the camera, and smiled. I didn't wait. I grabbed Sarah and we drove to a hotel by dawn. We called the landlord and demanded to break the lease. We didn't even go back to pack. We left everything, furniture, photos, even our unborn baby's clothes. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the landlord. He sounded shaken. "You didn't say you had a roommate," he said. I told him we didn't. He paused. "Someone's been here," he said. "There's food missing, trash in the bins, and there are footprints all over the nursery. Barefoot." I didn't answer. I couldn't. That night, I received a notification on my phone. New device connected. Living room camera. I hadn't opened the app in days. The feed blinked to life. There was the living room. Same couch, same rocking chair, and the man. He was sitting in it, still, waiting. Story 3. Playback error. In the fall of 2022, my older brother Alex bought a small fixer-upper on the outskirts of Boise, Idaho. He was a stubborn, self-reliant type, a veteran, a mechanic, and fiercely private. When he moved in, he installed a full security system himself. Door sensors, motion detectors, and 4 indoor security cameras, all linked to a local hard drive, not the cloud. He didn't trust internet storage, as he called it. A month after moving in, he called me one night. It was rare for Alex to call, let alone sound nervous. "Hey," he said. "Weird question. If you were watching your security feed and saw yourself walking around, but you weren't home, what would you do?" I thought he was joking. "I'd assume it was a glitch," I replied. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's what I told myself too." Then he hung up. I didn't hear from him for another 2 days. When I called back, he admitted something was going on in the house. Doors opening, lights turning on. One morning he found a full glass of water on the kitchen table, and he lived alone. But it was the security footage that disturbed him the most. He said the files kept duplicating, showing things he didn't remember doing. Some clips showed him standing completely still in the living room for hours, unmoving, eyes open. Except he remembered sleeping that night. He sent me a USB drive with the footage. I played the first clip. The camera shows Alex walking into the living room at 11:03 p.m. He sits on the couch. Then something odd. He looks up and waves at the camera. Not a quick gesture. A slow, deliberate wave. Then he smiles. But it wasn't Alex's smile. It was too wide, too forced. Then he stands and walks out of frame. End of clip. I called him again. "Did you fake this?" I asked. "No," he said. "I don't remember it. I swear." He told me he started hearing clicking noises inside the walls at night, like gears shifting, and static in the speakers, even though he didn't own a radio. Then, 3 nights later, I got a final text from him. "Something's in the system. I'm not alone here." And then, silence. No response. I drove out there the next morning. The front door was ajar. Inside, the house was cold, and the lights were all off, even though the power was working. But Alex was gone. No note, no signs of struggle. His truck still in the driveway. His phone left charging on the nightstand. But on his living room TV screen was the security feed, playing one of the archived clips. The timestamp read, October 12, 2022, 3:16 a.m. It was still playing on a loop. I watched it. Alex sits on the couch, then turns toward the screen, and slowly mouths 3 words. "He's not me." Then the clip glitches and restarts. I stayed in the house that night. Call it foolish, but something in me couldn't just walk away. Alex wasn't the kind of guy to vanish. I had to believe there was a logical explanation. A break-in, a prank, a psychological episode. Something. I rebooted the security system and connected it to my laptop to check for more footage. The drive had hundreds of clips, too many for just a month of recordings. And some were labeled with future dates, October 15, 17, 22, even though it was only the 13th. Curious, I played one marked October 15, 2:11 a.m. It showed me, standing in the kitchen, wearing the exact same clothes I had on, making coffee, looking up, smiling at the camera. Then the screen glitched, and my face froze mid-smile, stretching into static. I slammed the laptop shut. I checked every room again. Still no sign of Alex, but the hallway camera light blinked on. I hadn't turned it on. From my laptop, I accessed the hallway feed. It was showing real-time footage of me, standing in the hallway. Then a second figure entered frame. Same height, same build, same clothes. It stood behind me, watching. I turned around in real life. Nothing. The feed, frozen, like the system couldn't keep up. I pulled all the wires and shut the whole thing down. I should have left then. But I was scared that if I left, I might be the next one to vanish. Instead, I started digging through the walls of the house. I knew Alex. If he thought someone or something was inside the system, he would have tried to find it physically too. In the closet of the guest bedroom, I noticed a loose panel behind the drywall. Inside, tucked in an old shoebox, was a worn cassette tape. Yes, a cassette, written in red Sharpie. Do not play. So of course I did. I found a dusty old boombox in the garage and popped it in. White noise at first. Then, Alex's voice. But it wasn't a message. It was him begging, sobbing, whispering. "It's copying me," he said. "It learns from the feed. Every movement, every word. And then it does things I didn't do. I think it's trying to replace me." The tape ended. The lights in the hallway flickered. I ran to the front door. Locked. Not jammed. Locked from the inside. I tried the back. Same. Then I heard footsteps, slow, careful, coming from the living room. I grabbed a wrench and held my breath. Around the corner stepped a figure. It was me. Same shirt, same jeans, same terrified expression. Except this one smiled. I didn't. It cocked its head, studying me like a bug in a jar. Then said, in my exact voice, "Too late to unplug me." I ran into the bedroom and locked the door. From the laptop, I checked the camera feed again. The system was still recording somehow, and every camera now showed me. Dozens of versions, slightly off. One blinking too slowly, another swaying gently, like it didn't understand how to be still. They weren't me, and they were getting closer. I smashed the laptop. Then silence. The lights went out. That was 2 years ago. No one ever found Alex. And ever since, no matter what home I moved to, no matter how new the router, how fresh the devices, I still get notifications at 3:16 am. Motion detected, living room, and the feed always shows someone sitting on my couch, wearing my clothes, smiling, too widely.